Hey everyone, Justice here with some thoughts on Sapphire Steel ramp at the start of Reign of Jafar. So, what does the meta look like right now? Amber Steel is far and away the best performing deck at the start of the metagame right now, with Ruby Sapphire, Emerald Amethyst, and Emerald Steel following up. Sapphire Amethyst and Ruby Amethyst and Amethyst Steel trailing those as being sort of relevant tier 2 decks before reaching Amber Emerald, which is not performing well, and Sapphire Steel, which is primarily being played as aggro right now. So once we understand what the meta is, we can actually start to think about, why do we want to play Sapphire Steel and how do we build it? So why Sapphire Steel now? The meta share is overwhelmingly Steel and the least Ruby, which is great for Sapphire Steel because it means we can play to be the biggest Steel deck and reliably win other Steel matchups. I really think we do this through one key card here, which is Cogsworth, which always guarantees that we get unfair trades on the board into other Steel lists. Steel also gives us access to the best early game removal, which lets us keep a check on aggro decks without getting run over by them while playing our higher value package overall. So some relevant thoughts coming in on new cards from Reign of Jafar. Do we need to fear Beyond the Horizon? So of the 504 reported lists so far, 65 of them are playing it, which is about 13% of the reported meta, and 39 of those 65 lists are Green Steel discard. What this means is we're not getting Beyond the Horizon on turn 3 from, say, a Cinderella plus an Ursula most of the time. So we don't need to fear that. And we can play to disrupt our opponent's singers reliably early with cards like Fire the Cannons being good into both Cinderella and Diablo. What about Rhino? Rhino is a much more prevalent card and very strong overall, but I don't think we need to fear him all that much. Rhino is best for Amber Steel decks into decks which cannot reliably remove him, or when he can be used to fight into enemy aggro. So if we're facing into Amber Steel and they go turn 1 Rhino into turn 2 Shift Rhino 4, they're only questing for 2. So if they had just played a Daisy with 4 willpower and then played a Smee, we would probably be a lot worse off. So shifting Rhino on 2 is not that bad for us. If they just curve into Rhino on 4, then they're not doing something like playing Rapunzel to draw 3, playing a 5/5 Bianca, or a Naveen plus a Song to have a higher tempo. So overall, we're not terribly scared of this card as a priority play from Amber Steel, but we do need to make sure that we can answer it efficiently. What's nice is that we can play to deal 5 damage more easily than we can play to deal 4 for things like Daisy. So we can just look to Zeus Rhino in the mid game, or we can look to beat over him with characters that have more than 5 strength. So where do we go from there? Taking all that into account, here is the build order that I think you need to consider for playing Sapphire Steel ramp. What kind of ramp package do we run? Do we play a ramp on 2? Do we play a ramp on 3? Or do we play a combination of them? Based on how you decide that, you pick a early game character package to complement it. If we're playing to ramp on 3, then we want to be playing lots of good 2-drops like Smee or Helga Sinclair. If we are playing to ramp on 2, then we don't want to be playing many 2-drops, and we want to play more 3 and 4-drops instead. Then you pick complementary removal tools. If we're playing to ramp on 3, we're playing cards like Mickey or Pleakley, then the 3-cost Song package is better. But a card like Fire the Cannons is flexible with both Sail or Quill to weave in on those +1 turns. Importantly, we need to consider the draw package. I think New World, Horizon, and Desperate Plan are all very good right now, and we can build to play for any of them. If we're on World, we just want to be on 5-cost singers, same as we ever were. If we are on Horizon, then I think we want to be playing 3 and 4-cost units, right? Ramp on 2 into 3 and 4s, and then we can sing that to just refill our own hand. Takes away that downside of refilling the opponent's cards. Or we can opt not to play songs that can be disrupted by Ursula too. So if we really want to focus on green steel, then I think Desperate Plan likely has good applications there where we can just say, like, sure, I'll ink my hand down and I'll just play Desperate Plan and have 3 cards. And that's probably good for us most of the time. And then finally, we need to cover any remaining blind spots with complementary tech, right? Mostly at this point, how do we efficiently answer evasives and locations? So here's a couple of theoretical builds based on some of the things we just talked about. This is both of these lists I'm about to show are concepts that are sort of designed around ramping on 2 and breaking enemy singers off the board. So anti-Beyond the Horizon, despite what we said about that not really being relevant. And this first one is also a Beyond the Horizon deck itself. So we're looking at sort of an early game package of Robin Hood, Popsicle, or Fire the Cannons into ramp on 2 into either like a Bell Pete +1 or a Shift Robin Hood, and then Robin Hood Tebow can sing Beyond the Horizon. You can also just go Grammatala, look for songs, or you go immediately into Pete or Gantu to prevent your opponent from singing on that turn and get immediately into Cogsworth on curve without having your hand disrupted. Removal package, fairly standard here, but you can customize this to your liking. I think Namari covers blind spots here for us for locations, and then we're using sort of Zeus's, tanks, cannons, or swords to try and deal with evasives. Here's another version of this list that is playing instead New World and Dime. So similar idea, we're ramping on 2, but we are no longer playing the Robin Hood shift line because we're not looking for the, we're just going to go, play a 1, ramp Pete Gantu, same as it was, and then just play a bit of a slower, more controlled game with the Cogsworth Namari and Tamatoa to better enable us to play the Lucky Dime. So I think either one of these builds are viable, but I think there are sort of any number of combinations that you could consider and combine, as long as you're playing a internally coherent deck list and you know what decks you are trying to counter and which tools you need in each matchup. You can see success with sort of any style of blue steel list, and you can customize it to your play style.